In 1999, televised science fiction was still heavily shaped by the long shadow of Star Trek. Many space shows leaned into cleaner command structures, brave captains, logical officers, starship crews, and optimistic futures. Then came a show on the Sci Fi Channel that broke the mold, twisted every familiar trope, and gave the genre something stranger, messier, louder, and far more chaotic. That show was Farscape. The premise was nothing less than original and bold. An American astronaut named John Crichton, our protagonist, is catapulted across the universe through a wormhole during an experimental space mission, then thrown into chaos when his module collides with a Peacekeeper fighter. He ends up aboard Moya, a large biomechanical ship home to a wide assortment of alien fugitives running from the corrupt military organization, ironically called the Peacekeepers. The show ran for 4 seasons and built one of the most loyal and devoted fan bases in the history of science fiction television, but was unfortunately canceled mid-story. The unresolved cliffhanger left everyone gnawing at their fingernails and launched a well-organized fan campaign. The result was a miniseries to tie up the ending, but that still left many fans wishing they had received the full final season the creators had originally intended. Over 2 decades later, fans are still holding out hope for their favorite show to get a proper continuation, whether as a final season, miniseries, or even a film. So what made Farscape so likable? Why did the Sci Fi Channel cancel it? And is there any universe where Farscape fans get the finale they deserve? Let's find out. The Strange Birth of Farscape. Farscape was created by Rockne S. O'Bannon, with Brian Henson serving as a key executive producer and creative force through the Jim Henson Company. It was originally made for the 9 networks under the production companies Hallmark Entertainment and the Jim Henson Company. The ensemble cast included Brian Browder as John Crichton, Claudia Black as Aaron Sun, a renegade peacekeeper, Virginia Hay as Pauzo Tazan, a Delvian priestess who had been imprisoned after killing her lover Batal, a Delvian leader whose collaboration with Peacekeeper power helped crush dissent on her world, Anthony Simcoe as Ka Dargo, a Luxon warrior falsely convicted of killing his wife, a multi-limbed pilot voiced by Lonnie Tupu, who's biologically connected to the ship's nervous system, and Wayne Pygram as Scorpius, a Peacekeeper commander and a significant foe of Crichton. From 1999 to 2003, the show ran for 4 glorious seasons and 88 episodes. Despite being planned for 5 seasons, Farscape was unfortunately canceled after season 4, which led to the miniseries Farscape: The Peacekeeper Wars. I've already told you about the premise, but let me get further into it. The show is a mix of standalone plots and overarching story arcs that include Crichton's search for a wormhole to get back home, the crew repeatedly being hunted or captured by the Peacekeepers, Crichton's relationship with Aaron's son, and an arms race for wormhole technology weapons. Farscape arrived on screen at a time when Star Trek was still one of the biggest reference points for televised science fiction, but many fans were ready for something that felt less polished, less military, and more unpredictable. Farscape was the breath of fresh air they had been hoping for. To know what made the show unique, we gotta hear from the creators, Rockne O'Bannon and Brian Henson themselves. For Henson, the inspiration behind it was simple. He was a science fiction fan, and he needed to do something in that genre, but right from the beginning, he knew it had to be different from Star Trek. He said, "What we were trying to do back then was kind of break the mold. The biggest show was Star Trek, for sure, and Star Trek had taken a vision of the future where people are in much more control of their emotions, and they're more efficient in their communication. They feel like an elevated human being when you watch people interacting on the Star Trek shows. We really wanted a completely different feel and tone," is what Brian Henson told IGN in a 2024 interview. That led him to working on a pitch with Rockne S. O'Bannon that was originally called Space Chase. For O'Bannon, the show was inspired by 2 pop culture milestones. One was the famous Mos Eisley Cantina scene from the original Star Wars that shows an assortment of aliens, and the other was The Wizard of Oz. At the Paley Center for Media in late 2017, he said it was just that idea of someone who's in Kansas and then finds themselves not in Kansas anymore. I think that, I'm not sure if it was in the show or not, but certainly in the pilot script there was a reference. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. His mother, a dancer at MGM, had been a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, so it's not hard to see why it played a significant role in his creation. O'Bannon added that it was not just an inspiration, but his homage to her. Their initial pitch for Farscape included a lot of characters based on The Wizard of Oz, but they had to be taken out to reduce the number of characters. O'Bannon too wanted to avoid comparisons to Star Trek. In that same interview, O'Bannon said, "Obviously, Star Trek is everybody's reference point to science fiction, and my main thing there was that I wanted something that was the antithesis of the military hierarchy of the Enterprise. The farthest I could get away from that was a ship with no military hierarchy, and in fact, to go even further, escaping prisoners who have their own missions, their own things they want to accomplish. All they have in common is that they want to get away, and that bonds them. I love Star Trek, so I hesitate to say anti-Star Trek because it's not really in the interest of doing anti-Star Trek. It was more, what's an interesting variation of Star Trek? For any creative idea to truly flourish in network television, it's crucial to get the perfect team for it and the chance for creators to freely exercise their creativity. That's what O'Bannon and Henson got with the Sci Fi Channel. Henson told IGN in 2024 what the then president of Sci-Fi had told him. He just said, "Make it as weird as you can," which are words that A, I had never heard before, and B, you really need to be careful when you say that to me, as I did exactly that. Farscape was just that. Controlled chaos. Intentional weirdness. O'Bannon was also insistent on not making Crichton the captain of the ship. According to him, Crichton was the least effective in the group. The writer's room was not an isolated think tank. They collaborated frequently with the actors. Gigi Edgley, the actress who played Nabari thief Chiana, told IGN in an interview in 2024 that it was a whole collaboration of really wanting the show to be as huge as it was in our hearts and our minds and our souls, and that it actually got to that level. It was very refreshing to get some kick-ass sci-fi goddesses. Ben Browder also contributed to the show's writing, including the episodes Green-Eyed Monster and John Quixote. To make the show more realistic, O'Bannon asked writers to add their smart-aleck comments and pop culture references to Crichton's dialogue. Because the show was shot in Australia, it also gained access to brilliant actors and artisans who were experts in props, prosthetic work, makeup, and design. Any fan of Farscape will tell you that one of the most memorable parts of the show was the character design, which surely would not have gained the same recognition without the distinctive makeup and creature work. There are a lot of things to like about Farscape, and it was no surprise when the show garnered a strong fan base. Many praised it for its diverse cast and feminist storytelling, while others couldn't get enough of the animatronic puppetry in the show, courtesy of the Jim Henson Company. Lovable characters, totally bonkers plots, and a tone bolder than many of its predecessors quickly helped Farscape make it to the hearts of many viewers. Hearts that were about to be broken. The Season 4 cliffhanger that broke the fans. The audience happily saw 3 seasons, knowing with full certainty that another season would come. Season 4 is when it all went down. To really understand the stakes involved, I have to remind you of the events of Season 4. John Crichton found his way to Earth, again accidentally through a wormhole, but trouble followed him home. John and his crew stumbled upon a secret meeting between a Scarran minister and Commandant Grayza. Aaron disturbed the meeting and got captured. John offered Scorpius the wormhole tech in exchange for his help. In the rescue mission, Aaron was rescued, but Scorpius was captured. John was forced to rescue him despite not wanting to, as Harvey told him that Scorpius already had wormhole knowledge and might give it to the Scarrans under torture. The crew's actions at Catrazzi pushed the Scarran crisis into its most dangerous phase. More importantly, John had accidentally exposed Earth as a source of the vital Crystherium flowers that Scarrans needed for their heat-based biology and power structure. That made Earth a target, but instead of letting humanity become a pawn in the Peacekeeper Scarran War, John chose to collapse the wormhole route to Earth, cutting his homeworld off from the conflict. In the end, Scorpius was back with the Peacekeepers, and the crew of Moya landed on the planet Kujaga to rest and recuperate. There, Aaron revealed that she was pregnant with John's child. The two confessed their love for each other, and John proposed. Aaron accepted, when suddenly a flying vessel shot a ray at them that shattered them into thousands of crystalline pieces. Fans were shocked. Aaron and John's romance had finally reached the point of engagement, and the show killed them off? Was it a dream sequence? An alternate reality? They didn't have any answers, as this was the cliffhanger that Season 4 ended on, and fans got the devastating news that there wasn't going to be a Season 5. why Farscape was cancelled. In September 2002, even before the first half of the 4th season finished airing, the Sci Fi Channel decided to cancel the show. People were left confused, but a fact on the Sci Fi website revealed the reasons that led to this wonderful show meeting its demise. The first and foremost reason was declining ratings. The show had seen a steady decrease in the number of viewers from season 3. This was also likely affected by the fact that the show had changed from its usual airing time of 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And add to that the fact that the Jim Henson Company had been acquired by the German media company EMTV and Merchandising AG and was facing financial difficulties. Sci-Fi did not give any official statement regarding the cancellation until the next year. In 2003, Bonnie Hammer, Senior Vice President of Programming on the Sci Fi Channel, sat down with TV Guide Online and made the reason for the cancellation abundantly clear. She said, "We never wanted to cancel it. What we were trying to do was do 13 more episodes, not 22. The ratings had softened, and it was getting increasingly expensive to produce. We just couldn't make the financial deal. But we never wanted it to end when it ended. We had all intentions of doing 13 more episodes, beyond these 11. We wanted to keep it in 03 and end it in 03, but financially it was just too difficult to do." In the end, it all came down to numbers and whether it was financially worth making. The cast and crew were equally shocked at the network's decision. Claudia Black, who played Erin on the show, told BBC, "I was utterly shocked when I heard that Farscape wasn't going for season 5. There'd been talk about doing 13 episodes instead of 22, and we would have been very lucky indeed to do the 13. It would have been an opportunity for us to finish it on our terms and really feel that we could give it one last burst of energy and creativity. Season 4 was a difficult one, and we all felt that we were owed another chance, but all things end. I think it was better for it to end with people screaming for more." Browder remembered how the cast and crew reacted to the news in a 2018 interview with Sci-Fi Wire. "The reaction, I don't know if I've ever seen it anywhere. The cast and crew were called together and given the lay of the land, and a speech was given thanking everybody for their tremendous efforts, etc., and the grips were crying. Makeup artists were crying. Not everybody was crying, but there was a lot of tears from very surprising corners. The crew was invested in the show emotionally in a way that one doesn't normally see on television and film. I think they all knew they were doing something they probably weren't going to get the chance to do again for a long time, if ever. There was a sense of shock and bereavement about the show being canceled." In the same interview, O'Bannon explained the nuances that led to the cancellation and the helplessness he felt at the time, saying, "Nothing could be done because it was not a creative decision. It was entirely a business decision. The Henson Company had been sold to some German investors, and the German investors were having all sorts of legal issues and problems. A lot of stuff was going on with that company. As I understand it, the Sci-Fi Channel, kind of just as a negotiating ploy to see if there was some wiggle room on the licensing fee for season 5, had said that in that case, we'll just cancel it. And the German company leapt on that because they didn't want to have to deficit another season of a show that wasn't an inexpensive show. Suddenly, Sci-Fi is going, wait a second, let's not be too hasty here. And the Germans went, nah, we're done. Sci-Fi, from what I understand, certainly wanted it back for a 5th season and would never have posed this if they knew the repercussions of it. But there was no chance to come back because our new parent company wasn't interested in footing the bill. And maybe they didn't have the money. I don't know. The Save Farscape campaign and the Peacekeeper wars. The fans were not going to take it sitting down. They sent flowers, emails, phone messages, letters, and faxes to make their displeasure known. One fan even sent a check for $60 as a contribution to the next season, which the creators politely returned. Within hours, fans had mounted an online campaign called Save Farscape. They sent letters, tried to raise funds, conducted rallies, issued print ads and TV commercials, and conducted DVD rental campaigns. Owing to the campaign, the Sci Fi Channel decided not to scrap the sets of Farscape, and Brian Henson got the support of many European financial backers. Though the campaign was not completely successful in bringing back a full 5th season, it did help bring about the 2-part miniseries called Farscape: The Peacekeeper Wars in 2004. In the roughly 3-hour miniseries, Scorpius starts a war with the Scarans, believing that John is dead and the wormhole tech is gone forever. However, the Skarns overwhelm the Peacekeepers. The Peacekeeper Grand Chancellor considers surrendering, and Greza kills him and takes the position to continue the war. Meanwhile, the Eidolons, the inhabitants of Kujaga, realize they shouldn't have killed John and Aaron and resurrect them. As luck would have it, the Eidolons are a lost colony of the Arnesk people, who have the innate ability to bring peace. If they had more people, they could stop the war. So Moya heads to Arnesk, where Emperor Stelik attacks and kills nearly all the people there. That's because Stelik is a warmonger who is not happy with peace and only wants victory. The only surviving Eidolon passes his ability to Stark, and the crew heads back to Kujaga. They manage to pass the techniques of peace to the Eidolons there while the war rages on, having reached Kujaga. John and Aaron finally tie the knot, and Aaron gives birth, but Dargo is killed. Knowing that neither side will stop until they have wormhole tech, John asks Einstein to unlock the wormhole knowledge and uses it to create a black hole that won't stop growing until there's nothing left in the universe. Both the Peacekeepers and the Skarns realize that the weapon is too dangerous for anyone to possess and agree to a ceasefire. John stops the black hole but ends up in a coma. When Aaron places his baby in his arms, he wakes up. They look upon the peaceful galaxy and name their baby Dargo to honor their dead friend. This was what a lot of die-hard fans wanted, a climax and closure for their beloved characters. Though this miniseries resolved the central cliffhanger and gave the main emotional arc closure, many viewers still felt the ending was rushed. They thought the dialogue was sometimes uncharacteristic. The old characters felt forced into the plot, and that it was full of tropes and cliches. If you ask me, that was bound to happen. The writers had been planning for a whole season, and they had to squeeze a much larger story into about 3 hours. Obviously, a lot of character arcs were condensed, and there was a tonal loss that didn't go unnoticed. The creators tried their darndest to give the fans what they deserved, but I have to admit it slightly missed the mark. Could Farscape still return? The disappointment over the Peacekeeper Wars was likely felt by the creators, who later began discussing possible ways to continue Farscape. If this idea ever materializes, this could finally be the rain in the desert Scapers have been waiting for. In late 2017, O'Bannon said at the Paley Center that we had not necessarily seen the last of Farscape yet, stating, "The Henson Company and I are in the midst of trying to get a script in shape, and the intention is to do it as a feature. That's what we're aiming for." In 2018, Brian Henson updated fans about the status of the film at DragonCon. While he remained optimistic, his words did not sound like a guarantee. As he said, "The fan interest has been huge, but it's a little harder to sell. But I've been trying to make it as a movie for a long time, and everybody is tired, okay, I'm tired, of hearing me say that I really want to make a feature film of Farscape. I'm just coming off of making this movie, The Happy Time Murders, and it really took all of my attention for 16 months. I'm reconsidering that, and it may be that the movie length is too short to tell the story." And you know what? I get what he means. If the miniseries of about 3 hours couldn't fully satisfy fans, how could a feature film of 90 minutes? But we Scapers are parched, Henson. Give us something. Anything. In the 2024 interview with IGN, O'Bannon mirrored Henson's words. "What we realized is to deliver on all the promises of Farscape, we couldn't figure out how to do it in less than 4 hours. There's so many elements that you need to do that are complex that we can't fit it in a movie. So we would love to do a series or a mini-series." If John Crichton does come back, Ben Browder has no problem stepping back into the role. In an exclusive Game Rant video in 2024, Browder admitted he was curious about John and what he was up to, and said, "I would like to see where they are today and how their universe has changed. Because in 25 years, our world has changed, and none of us are the same as we were then, and I think the stories could be compelling." Those words do bring a cheer to every Scaper's heart. Despite being criminally underrated, Farscape is not a show you want to miss if you call yourself a sci-fi fan. The show is truly like no other, with its surreal plots and experimental episodes, and I still rue the day it got canceled. The legacy of the show also spread into different comic books. Wildstorm published a 2-issue Farscape comic in 2002, while Boom Studios later produced multiple Farscape comics, including material described as an official official extension of the original show's storytelling. Boom Studios and the Jim Henson Company also celebrated the franchise with a 25th anniversary special, so that's something to look into if you miss Farscape. There is also a video game based on the series and a tabletop RPG released by Alderac Entertainment. The enduring legacy of the show is only cemented by director James Gunn admitting that his vision of the film Guardians of the Galaxy was inspired by Farscape. The dysfunctional family dynamics, a group of aliens thrown together, and a barely functional human in the mix. I can see the influence. But that's all we fans have for now, the legacy and the memory of our beloved show. If you ask me, I would say that there's still creative interest in continuing Farscape, but as of May 29, 2026, no officially greenlit revival, sequel series, or feature film has been announced. Not in the form of a network series perhaps, but thanks to streaming platforms, which have brought back so many shows, there is still a door open for Farscape to get its day in the limelight again. Unfortunately, there's hardly been any major confirmed movement on the show in the past year. What do you think? Has the ship sailed already, or should Scapers hold on to what little hope they have? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, make sure to tap that subscribe button. I'll be back soon with more awesome stuff, but until then, goodbye.